Hi, I'm Jeff Baker, Air Force veteran and instructor here at 11 Bravo Training. You are about to watch a handgun safety video. If you would like to receive a certificate that will allow you to get your Virginia resident or non-resident concealed handgun permit, go to 11bravotraining.com and pay to take the test. Watch, take notes, and enjoy.
Hi Caitlin, I'm Joe Cody. I'm a certified NRA pistol instructor, and I'm the instructor today for this handgun safety and concealed carry class.
Okay, great.
Now, before we get started, have you had any experience with handguns at all?
My family had guns, but I haven't had a whole lot of experience with them.
Well, this course is going to be perfect for you because it's designed for someone who has had no experience with handguns or someone who has just bought their first handgun. So, if you're ready, let's get started.
Okay.
There are four very important rules to follow when you're around and handling any type of firearm. Number one, treat all guns as if they're loaded. Number two, always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Number three, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. And number four, don't point the gun at anything you're not willing to totally destroy. If you follow these four rules, you'll always be safe and everyone around you will be safe. And remember, guns won't go off unless the trigger is pulled, which makes rule number three very important. In addition, it's important that you realize that you're responsible for every round that you fire and where that round ends up. So always be aware of your target, what's around and behind it. Okay, now we're going to cover revolvers. A revolver is a pistol that has a rotating cylinder that holds the cartridges in individual chambers. As the trigger is pulled, the cylinder will rotate so that a cartridge is put in position for the hammer to hit it and fire it. The basic components of a revolver are the frame, the hammer, the barrel, the cylinder, and the trigger. To open the cylinder, you press the cylinder release button, which is right here. You push that forward, and with your other hand, you rotate the cylinder toward you. That opens the cylinder, and now you can see you have an ejector rod, which is right here. You push that, and that will eject all the rounds. You have a barrel. Inside the barrel, there's a bore, and inside the bore, there's grooves that are cut into that called lands. And those lands make the bullet spin as it goes down the barrel and causes it to be more accurate as it travels to the target. Now, the action is all the parts of the gun that make the hammer cock, release the hammer, rotate the cylinder, and eject the rounds. There are two types of revolvers. There's a single action and a double action revolver. Single action means every time you go to fire it, you have to cock the trigger, which is done like this. You pull the trigger back and it stays. That's cocking the trigger. And the only thing the trigger does is release the hammer like this. A double action revolver, the trigger both cocks and releases the hammer. So as you can see, you pull the trigger back, it cocks the hammer and releases it.
Okay.
Or most revolvers can be shot in both single action and double action. A semi-automatic pistol operates differently. After each cartridge is fired, it's automatically ejected, and a new cartridge is inserted into the chamber, ready to be fired the next time the trigger is pulled. The semi-automatic pistol has the same components that a revolver has: the frame, the barrel, and the action. As with the revolver, the frame is the basic structure which all the other parts are connected to. One difference with the semi-automatic is that most, but not all semi-automatics have an external safety that has to be disengaged in order for the gun to fire. Some of the newer models, like Glock pistols for example, have an internal safety which is manipulated in one way or another when the trigger is pulled, allowing the gun to fire. The safety is a mechanical device that is designed to keep the gun from firing accidentally. And since it's a mechanical device, it can fail. So you should not rely on it to operate 100% of the time. Right. You should always follow the four basic safety rules that I outlined at the beginning of this course.
Okay.
Semi-automatics also have a barrel which is different than the barrel on a revolver, in that the chamber is located at the back end of the barrel and is integral with the barrel. A semi-automatic handgun only has one chamber, whereas revolvers have multiple chambers. The magazine is the container that holds all the cartridges, and the magazine capacity varies with the design of the handgun. With semi-automatics, there are three types of actions: single action, double action, and double action only. With a single action, when the trigger is pulled, it only releases the hammer or firing mechanism. Double action means that when the trigger is pulled on the first shot, it cocks the hammer or firing mechanism and then releases it. On all other shots, the movement of the slide cocks the firing mechanism and the trigger only releases it. Double action only means that when the trigger is pulled on the first shot and all follow-up shots, it cocks the firing mechanism and releases it each time. This has been a brief description of the differences between a revolver and semi-automatic. Remember, when handling any handgun, first check to see that it's unloaded, and then make sure to follow all the safety rules that I outlined previously. Okay, Caitlin, we're going to review the parts of a revolver. Here's the revolver.
Okay.
Now, tell me the parts.
This is the frame,
Mm-hmm.
the cylinder,
Yes.
the barrel,
Yes.
the trigger, the hammer, and the grip.
Now we're going to cover the semi-automatic. If you'd point out the different parts of the semi-automatic for me.
This is the frame, the slide, the trigger, and the grip.
Correct. That's great. Most people refer to ammunition as bullets. Technically, that's incorrect. The correct term is cartridge. A cartridge has several components: the case, the primer, the powder charge, and the bullet. The case is a metal tube, usually made of brass, but sometimes you'll find them made out of aluminum or steel with a primer at the back end. The bullet is usually made of lead and sometimes has a copper jacket bonded to it. The bullet is seated in the open end of the cartridge and crimped on. When the primer is hit, igniting the powder, the expanding gases force the bullet out of the end of the cartridge and propels it down and out of the barrel. The cartridge is sized to match the barrel size of your revolver or semi-automatic, and it's actually sized to the bore, which is the inside diameter of the barrel. Cartridges come in different sizes and range anywhere from 22 caliber up to 45 caliber. And to give you an idea of the different sizes, you can think of those sizes as inches. Like a 22 caliber is approximately 0.22 inches.
Okay.
A 380 round is approximately 0.38. And a 38 caliber is about the same, 0.38 inches. 45, following the same designation, is about 0.45 inches, or almost a half inch. Now, there are some metric sizes that you'll come across, 9 millimeter and 10 millimeter. To find out or understand where they fit in, you can convert those to inches. 9 millimeter is approximately the same size as a 38.
Okay.
Now, these sizes aren't exact. They give you a good comparison, but like I said, they're not exact.
Okay.
This gives you a good reference as to the size of the different cartridges that you'll come across. Now we're going to go into a section where I'm going to describe the revolver and a semi-automatic and have you actually handle it,
Okay.
open it, load it, both of these. So why don't we stand up and it'll be a lot easier. Whether you own a revolver or a semi-automatic handgun, you should be familiar with both and how to check whether it's loaded and unload either one. Now, we're going to start with the revolver. This is a small .38 special revolver, Smith & Wesson. And the first thing you're going to do is check to make sure it's unloaded. And to do that, you're going to take it in your right hand. Now, with your thumb on your right hand, you push the ejector, the cylinder release button, which is this.
Okay.
Push that forward, and then with the other hand, push the cylinder toward you,
Okay.
and that'll rotate out. Now, you can check to make sure that the cylinder is unloaded,
Okay.
or the gun is unloaded. Now, that's the ejector rod that helps you unload any shells that are in there, spent shells or even live shells.
Okay.
Now, in order to load it, you'll take, these are dummy rounds, you take and load one at a time into each chamber. There. Now you close the cylinder. Now you're ready to fire. Now, with a single action, if you point it downrange, which is in the safe direction, you can pull the hammer back to cock it.
Can I do that now?
Yes. There. Now, the hammer's cocked. Now, the only thing the trigger does is release the hammer, which is, if you point it downrange, which is another safe direction, you can pull the trigger.
Okay, I can do that now?
Yes, go ahead. As you hold the gun, now with the other hand, wrap your fingers around your hand. Okay, now have your thumb alongside, on top of your other thumb.
Okay.
You don't want it in back of the hammer because it could interfere with the hammer.
Okay.
Now, as you pull the trigger, you see it releases the hammer. There. If you open the cylinder again, there. Now you use the ejector rod, you should be able to unload all the empty shells.
Okay.
There. As you can see, that works. Now, if you close the cylinder, now point it downrange. I'll show you as a double action. As you pull the trigger, it'll cock the hammer and release it.
I'll pull the trigger.
There. Now, with a semi-automatic, first thing you have to do is load the magazine. Now, holding the magazine in your right hand, you take a shell or cartridge,
Okay.
and I'll show you.
Okay.
You take it like this. You take the cartridge, push it down, and underneath, these are feed lips, and push it to the rear.
Okay.
Then you do the same with the next one. It's easier if you put it on the table. Right. Now you just keep loading until you fill the magazine up. With a semi-automatic, take this in your right hand, insert the magazine into the magazine well. Now tap the bottom, kind of hard, make sure it's seated. Okay, now pointing it downrange, grip the slide. It's better if you grip it overhand.
Okay.
Now pull back and let go. Now what that did, that strips the top cartridge off the magazine and inserts it into the chamber.
Okay.
Now if you point it downrange, grip the slide, now pull back.
Just pull back.
There. That ejects the cartridge that's in the chamber and loads a new one.
Okay.
In order to shoot, in your right hand, you want to grip as high as possible without interfering with the slide.
Okay.
Then you take your other hand, wrap it around your hand in front.
Okay.
Okay. Keep your thumb on top of the other thumb.
Okay.
If you put your thumb around back, when you fire, the slide's going to come back
Okay,
and
so
hit
that.
your thumb.
Okay.
That you don't want. You won't do it more than once. Then you can point it downrange
Okay.
and pull the trigger once you've lined up the sights. There. Now, if there was a live round in there, you would have fired and it would have cycled the slide back and it would have ejected a round and loaded a new round.
Okay.
Every time you fire, it'll eject a round and load a new round until the magazine is empty.
Okay.
Then, when that happens, it'll lock in the rear position. Most semi-automatics will lock in the rear position. Now, in order to take the magazine out, there's a magazine release over here. What you do is you push that forward and the magazine will come out. Try that.
Okay.
There. That's how you load and unload a semi-automatic.
Okay.
Shooting the handgun, aiming and shooting it looks easy when you see it on TV, but it's not. There's several things you have to do. First of all, when you pick up the semi-automatic, here you go. As I said before, you grip it as high up on the grip as you can. And what you want to do is you want to squeeze it like you're squeezing somebody's hand and trying to crush it. Keep your trigger finger relaxed though and off the trigger. And then you wrap, like I said before, wrap your hands around the hand on the gun, and then keep your thumbs one on top of the other. Then you point it down range and you line up the front sight with the top of the notch in the rear sight. The next thing is your stance. There's several different ways to stand. I prefer standing square to the target and with your hands out in front and leaning into it. By doing that, you create a stable platform that absorbs the recoil in the gun. So if you point it down range, you're square, then kind of lean forward and you create a more stable platform if you have the handgun down and then you lean your head down like that. Then you breathe, control your breathing, take a deep breath, then start to exhale. As you get halfway through your breath, hold your breath, and then pull the trigger slowly.
Okay. Can I pull it now?
Go ahead. And what you want to do is hold the gun steady and try with no movement. And that's the basics of shooting, whether you're shooting a revolver or semi-automatic. But by leaning into it, you absorb the recoil. And it makes it easier for your follow-up or your next shot. One other thing with aiming. Depends on the gun. All the sights are different, they're designed differently, and as you can see with the revolver, you have one type of sight. You have a high top sight and a notch in the back. On the semi-automatic, you have a different style notch on the back and a different style front sight. What you have to do is with your particular handgun, you have to practice and try adjusting the sights to get your best accuracy. So it takes practice. It doesn't happen at first, but you do have to practice it. We're going to try this with a different gun. These are different sights. They are designed differently and they show up differently. And you're going to have to line up the front sight, the dot on the front sight, with the dots, the two dots on the back. Now, I'm going to have you do that. Wait a minute. Now, put it down range. Okay, what you want to do now is point it down range. You line up the front sight with the notch in the rear sight, and on this gun, you want to line up the dot on the front sight level with the two dots on the rear sight. Once you have that lined up, then you can go ahead and press the trigger slowly and with an equal pressure all the way back. There. And as you can see, when you did that, the gun didn't move. As you pull the trigger, you want to make sure that the gun is held steady and with no movement in the gun. That way you'll get a good, accurate shot off. To get a permit to carry a concealed handgun in Virginia, you cannot have any felony convictions, cannot have been dishonorably discharged from the military, and cannot have any outstanding restraining orders against you. Also, you must be a U.S. citizen or a legal resident alien and be 21 years of age or older. There are some other disqualifiers that you need to be aware of, but you can find them on the Virginia State Police website. For other states, you'll have to check their state police websites or the respective states' websites. One requirement for being issued a permit to carry a concealed handgun is having taken a basic handgun course like this one. Once you've completed the course and passed the test, you'll get a certificate of completion, which you'll then submit with your application. Some states and some jurisdictions also require fingerprinting and/or a picture. The application instructions for applying for a permit to carry a concealed handgun can be obtained from your state police's website or the individual state government's websites. Make sure you follow the instructions exactly when filling out the forms so your application doesn't get kicked out and hold you up. Once you receive your permit, read all the instructions that come with it. That's where you'll find a complete listing of where you can and cannot carry your handgun. In general, you cannot carry in the following places. Most states, it's illegal to carry in these places. Number one, a courthouse. Number two, a place of worship where a religious function is going on without proper authorization, without need to. Also, private property, where the person who owns the property has said that they don't allow anyone to carry a weapon on their property, or where it's posted, like malls. Some malls are posted, and you have to be careful where you go into. Number four, school property. In general, all states prohibit guns on school property. In Virginia, there's one exception to the statute. That is, the person who has a valid concealed carry permit and possesses a concealed handgun while in a motor vehicle, in a parking lot, traffic circle, or other means of vehicular ingress or egress to the school may legally possess a handgun on school property. However, this exemption is only valid while you're in the automobile. You cannot get out of the car with the weapon.
Okay.
You cannot carry in an airport. In most states, you can't carry a concealed handgun into a restaurant or any place that serves alcohol. In Virginia, you can carry a concealed weapon into a restaurant or a place that serves alcohol as long as you don't consume any alcohol while you're there. This varies from state to state, and in other states you'll have to check the state requirements or the state laws. And those are usually found, like I said before, on the state police website for that state or with any government agency that issues the concealed weapons permits. In most states, if you're stopped by an officer for whatever reason, you're obligated to inform them that that you have a concealed weapons permit and you're carrying a concealed handgun. In Virginia, you're not obligated to inform the officer that you're carrying. He will find out, however, when he runs your license through the DMV because it's flagged on your license.
I was thinking of a question.
Yeah.
If you are pulled over and you do have your concealed permit,
Yes.
but you're not carrying at the time, do you still need to let him know that you have your permit?
No.
Okay.
You're not obligated to tell him that at all.
Okay.
Now, he will find out, like I said, when he runs your license
Okay.
because it's flagged on your license. He may ask you if you're carrying, and in that case, you tell him no.
Okay.
Now, if you are carrying and he finds out, or if you choose to inform him of that, then always ask him how he wants you to proceed. Always keep your hands in sight, preferably on the steering wheel. Don't make any sudden moves. Now, in most states, you cannot carry your handgun in the glove compartment. Virginia, you can. There are a few states where you can carry your handgun in the glove compartment. If you do carry your handgun in the glove compartment, I suggest don't carry your license and registration or insurance information in there, because when you go to get your insurance and registration information, you open the glove compartment and the cop sees a gun.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you're doing, he's going to automatically draw his weapon, and you're going to be standing there with a nervous officer pointing a loaded handgun at you with his finger on the trigger, and that's not a situation you want to be in.
Right.
So always be aware of that.
Okay.
If you do carry in the glove compartment, carry your registration and insurance information someplace else. There are many ways that you can carry a gun concealed. The best way is on your person using a holster attached to your belt. Some people like inside the waistband holsters and some like outside the waistband holsters. The inside the waistband holster holds the gun closer to your body and is generally easier to conceal. Regardless of which one you use, you can cover these by an untucked shirt, sweater, or sweatshirt. And depending on your physique, an untucked, loosely fit t-shirt conceals well. As with choosing a handgun, choosing a holster is mostly personal preference. There are a couple of requirements that you should look for in a good holster. The holster should always cover the trigger and trigger guard. And the holster should always secure the gun in a way that it won't come out if you trip or fall. And the holster should maintain its shape and not collapse when you take the gun out. That makes it a lot easier to reholster. There are many different types of holsters and ways to carry concealed. You have to find one that fits you and your lifestyle. It's all personal preference. Carrying a gun in your pants pocket is a popular method and a very good way to carry a concealed handgun. You have to choose a gun that will fit in your pocket, and you should always use a holster designed for pocket carry. Here's a holster designed for pocket carry with this pocket carry gun. It's a 9mm handgun that's designed for pocket carry. The gun combined with the holster, which is designed for pocket carry, will fit in your pocket and not print. This holster also has an attachment that you can put on it that makes it even more indistinguishable in your pocket and conceals it even better than just a plain holster.
Right.
So as you can see, you do have to pick a gun and a holster that will fit in your pocket, and one that fits the way you dress and one you feel comfortable with.
Okay.
Other ways to carry are in a purse, a fanny pack, briefcase, or in your pocket. Fanny packs do conceal your handgun. However, most fanny packs designed for carrying a handgun look like they're designed for carrying a handgun, and you stand out. Now, if you're in some resort section where half the people there are wearing fanny packs, then that's fine. You can get away with it. But also recognize that to draw your handgun from a fanny pack is difficult. It's a lot more difficult than drawing from a holster. You need a lot of practice to be able to draw from a fanny pack without shooting yourself in the foot or the leg. So I also suggest staying away from them.
Okay.
For women, there are many companies that make pocketbooks designed for concealed carry. They usually have an unobtrusive pocket specifically built for your gun. I've not seen any that look like they're designed by Gucci or Prada, but they all seem to be functional. There's a lot of other ways you can carry a handgun off your person in a briefcase if you have a job where you carry a briefcase. There's another problem with those type of carry is you set your briefcase down or you set your purse down. If you're in an office, you set your purse down and walk away. You don't know
Right.
what's happening with your purse or your briefcase or anything. There's day timers. Those are kind of antiquated, but that or some kind of a binder that you can carry your gun in.
Okay.
Those things are fine as long as they're with you. But once you set them down and walk away, you don't have control of your gun.
Right.
So those are things to consider. The ideal way of carrying, again, like I said, is on your person in a holster. Pocket carry is another good way of carrying it. You should also always carry your gun in a holster in your pocket.
Okay.
Now, a good holster should always cover the trigger and the trigger guard of your gun.
Okay.
That way, particularly in your pocket, nothing will snag on it. And if you carry a gun in your pocket in a holster, don't carry anything else in there. You don't want to be trying to draw the gun out and have it snag on something in your pocket and go off.
I have a question. What's the best method for a woman who may wear clothes that are more form-fitting to be able to conceal a gun? Would the best way to be to choose to wear it in her purse, conceal it in her purse, and then also having a young child of my own, I tend to carry it in my purse, but then I guess you just have to be very cautious of where you leave your purse and making sure your child isn't into it or things like that.
That's a great question, Caitlin. If you wear form-fitting clothes, concealed carry can pose a problem. You may have to adjust your wardrobe in order to accommodate carrying a gun. That may mean wearing a loose-fitting outer garment like an untucked shirt or blouse. In any event, it's going to be a trade-off, and you may have to carry in a purse or some other way.
Okay.
When carrying your handgun in a purse, the thing you have to keep in mind is when you set your purse down, you don't have control of it, which means you don't have control of your handgun. That's something to think about, especially if you have a child with you. You don't want your child or anyone else getting a hold of your purse or your handgun. However you carry, you want to do it in a way that no one will suspect that you have a gun. You have to experiment with your wardrobe in order to find a way that you feel comfortable carrying a concealed handgun.
Okay.
Caitlin, once you do get your concealed carry permit, you need to know when it's justified using lethal force, when you can pull a gun and use it. Generally, there's a couple of different guidelines. One is when your life is in danger or when you're in danger of great bodily harm. Or there's a disparity of size and number of people. Some big 300-pound person coming at you with a baseball bat, that's a disparity of size. Or if there's a group of people coming at you, attacking you, 3-4 people, that's a disparity of numbers. When you're in fear of great bodily harm or being killed, then you're justified in drawing and shooting to stop the threat.
Okay.
And basically, that's all you're doing. You are shooting to stop the threat. In Virginia and in many states, you have a duty to retreat, regardless of where you are, meaning you have to try to get away from the threat. And you are not justified in using lethal force if you've done anything to escalate the situation. Now, if you're in a spot, like in an alley, and you can't retreat any farther, or can't go anyplace, that's a different story. Or if you're in your house, somebody kicks the front door in, and you go to retreat, and a child is between you and, say, your bedroom, the back room, that's as far as you can retreat because you're going to be defending your family. So those are basically the requirements for duty to retreat.
Okay.
Other states have something called castle laws, which state that you do not have a duty to retreat, that you can stand there, stand your ground, and defend yourself. However, again, we're in Virginia, and Virginia law states that you do have a duty to retreat.
Okay.
Now, there's one other thing that comes up, another situation. It's called brandishing. Somebody's hassling you. They get over the top, and you feel your life is in danger. You cannot expose your handgun to them with the hopes that they'll be frightened and back off and run away.
Okay.
The only time you can do that, or you're justified as showing your handgun, is if your life is actually in danger, or you're actually in imminent danger of great bodily harm. In that case, you're justified in using lethal force, and in that case, all you do is you draw and stop the threat. You don't ever fire a warning shot. In almost every state in the United States, warning shots are illegal. And with warning shots, remember, you're responsible for every shot you fire and where that shot ends up. So if you shoot in the air, that bullet can go a half mile or more and come down someplace and hit somebody. You're still responsible.
Okay.
Doesn't matter whether you're trying to repel an attacker. Warning shots are illegal. Don't ever do them.
Okay.
If you're justified in using lethal force, just draw and stop the threat.
Okay. So you should never pull your handgun unless you really feel the fear and the need to
That's correct.
defend yourself.
Now, if you pull a handgun and the guy sees it and runs away, fine. That's great. That's what you want to happen.
Right.
But don't ever shoot at him as he's running away.
Okay.
This has been a course designed to cover the safe handling and operation of handguns, as well as cover the basics of concealed carry. We also covered where you can and cannot carry a handgun, and when you can and cannot use lethal force. For specifics regarding laws of your state and other states concerning the use of a handgun in self-defense, you need to consult an attorney. Thank you for taking the course, and good luck with the test.
Thank you.